Did.
Committees he'd be interested in, and also
I
spoke
talked to
with
Grandbon, too.
Alderman Gartner. And so the assignments for Alderman Montello would be Airport Commission, Fire Board, Historic Preservation Commission, and Public Works Committee. And Alderman Gartner would be on the Library Board. And then, if you recall, Josh Limseth has served on the St. Croix County Revolving Loan Fund Committee for the last 6 years. His term expired here at the end of the year. And so we have an application from Mark Casey, First National Community Bank. They kind of like to have someone who has a background in reviewing applications for loans, and so certainly his finance background would be valuable to that. I think before Josh served, I think we actually had someone from RCU on there previously. So we've actually kind of had representation from different financial institutions here in the community as well. So those are the appointments we would have for the agenda here for this evening. I'm happy to answer any questions, or if any of the mayor or Alderman Montello, if you had any comments.
The only comment I have is, Mr. Mayor, I'll offer a motion that we approve the appointments as suggested.
Second. That includes Mark Casey for the revolving loan. Yes. Not, take the roll, please.
Alderman Kittle?
Yes.
Alderman Breeze?
Yes.
Alderman Weinmeier?
Yes.
Alderman Gartner?
Yes.
Alderman Volkert? Alderman Montello?
Yes.
Motion passes. FunFest permit applications 2024.
If you recall, last year when we discussed FunFest, we had asked that going forward, the Chamber of Commerce submit their permit applications for FunFest earlier. We were kind of getting up to May, June when this was first being approved by the council. And we thought it made sense that since the parade permits were getting submitted by January 1st, to just submit everything all at that time. So FunFest for 2024 is proposed for July 11th through the 14th. Included in your agenda packet is the proposed map and layout. This would match last year. So the band, the beer tent would all be behind Mallards and Champs. The carnival rides would be on South Arch Avenue. The food court would be in the public parking lot behind the Wild Badger. So same layout as before. The music for the event, Thursday is the first day of the event. That would be from 3 p.m. to midnight. And then Friday, 11 a.m. to midnight, Saturday, 9 a.m. to midnight, and Sunday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Staff have reviewed the application. We'd like to note a few provisions, which I think we had these in there last year, that they have a meeting with the surrounding neighborhood and businesses We think that's something just good to do before and after any event that we have in the community. Requiring a certificate of insurance be provided prior to the issuance of the permit. Carnival rides on East 3rd Street must stay at least 30 feet away from Knowles Avenue. Again, we just don't want kids and families being too close to Knowles Avenue. We want to make sure that the emergency access lane is not obstructed with carnival rides, so making sure that that alleyway stays open. Driveways with access to the public parking lot shall not be blocked by the food booths. And then a couple comments in here just in terms of dumpsters, making sure those aren't blocking intersections of the street. So these are just things based on past feedback with the event. So happy to answer any questions that the group might have.
I think I just have one question. Chief, do you have any concerns that you feel need to be addressed from a safety perspective?
Nothing real earth-shattering. We did have some parking issues. Set back off of Knowles works. Brought up at the after-action report.
Do you see any value in just having a sit-down with kind of the main folks there, just to kind of go through stuff, reminder of things? Do you
Yeah,
see
we
any
did that.
value in that?
We did the after-action after FunFest last year. Lines of communication have been good.
Mr. Mayor, I'm going to offer a motion that we approve the FunFest application, permit applications.
I'll second that, but I have a comment. I'd like to see the map corrected because I know we're supposed to say 30 feet off of Knowles Avenue. Hate to have anyone be confused. One thing is in writing, but we show red going up to the middle of South Knowles Avenue, and I think that should be corrected.
Yeah, the map's from the chamber, so.
Well, I think the map should be corrected, but the permit says specifically 30 feet back. I think you had a good point. I think it can be approved, but just the map should be corrected to reflect the actual verbiage of the approval.
Yeah, you don't want the carnival getting that map and putting it right up
Right.
where.
Oh,
where
this
it
is what
shouldn't
you
be.
approved. Yeah, I can hear that.
For discussion? I take the roll, please.
Alderman Vries,
Yes.
Alderman Weinmeier,
Yes.
Alderman Gartner,
Yes.
Alderman Volkert,
Yes.
Alderman Montello,
Yes.
Alderman Kittle.
Yes. Passes. Next item, airport maintenance vehicle.
Didn't you
Oh, I'm
miss a
sorry,
parade
You
applications?
skipped one, sorry, Jim.
Parade applications.
Oh, excuse me, yeah. Parade applications, 2024.
So the memo in your packet outlines the 3 parade permit applications that we received for this year. The first would be for the St. Patrick's Day Parade, which would be Sunday, March 17th. Then the Fun Fest Parade would be Sunday, July 14th. And Hometown Holidays, which would be Thursday, December 5th. If you recall this last year, I believe there was discussion with the Public Safety Committee that when the St. Patrick's Day falls on a weekday, that we would have a later start time to allow time for, with busing. We had a lot of feedback from the school district. Now this year, the event falls on a Sunday, so that's not a concern, but I just want to point that out that going forward, just we don't forget that. But recommendation from staff would be to approve the parade applications. We noted 3 provisions, again, that we have certificate of insurance provided prior to the issuance of the permits. The organizations that are hosting the parades should be notifying the residents and businesses in terms of the parade lineup and staging area. And bars and restaurants along the route would have extension of premise for customers to have open containers of fermented malt beverages directly in front of their business from 1 hour before the parade start time until one after the conclusion of the parade, which again we've done in the past. So
That pertains to the Hometown Holidays Parade as well?
it would be for all three.
Motion to approve the 2024 parade applications.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Again, Chief, any concerns?
Really, the only concern with the biggest concerns are we have been seeing a lot of traveling alcohol over the last little bit, the last few parades. And so we'll do our best to educate and curb that a little bit. And so far, we haven't had any major incidents or anybody that's so intoxicated that they're disruptive or anything like that. But I think we need to make sure that our bars are monitoring in front of their business. And we had a lot of people, well, it's cheaper over there, so I'm going to get it and drink it over here type of comments. But but we're working through that with the bars. We usually stop in. I stop in and talk to them each year beforehand and make sure that they know what the rules are and that they should be monitoring it. So.
Anything else? Now take the roll, please.
Alderman Weinmeier,
Yes.
Alderman Gartner,
Yes.
Alderman Volkert,
Yes.
Alderman Montello,
Yes.
Alderman Kittle,
Yes.
Alderman Breeze.
Yes.
Motion passes. Now, airport maintenance vehicle.
I won't go through the whole memo in detail, but in May of this year, the Airport Commission directed staff to solicit bids for a replacement maintenance vehicle for the airport. The current truck is a 2001 vehicle. It's been in use at the airport since about 2006. And so the vehicle is driven primarily on airport property, typically puts on 5,000 miles a year tops. And in December, we had a request or invitation for bids that went out to our local dealerships. So included in your packet is a breakdown of the 3 bids that were received. And again, we're looking for a used vehicle. So we received bids from Johnson Motors, Bernard's, and Johnson Ford. And you can see in your packet kind of a breakdown of the make, model, cab. I won't read through all of those. All 3 proposals met the minimum vehicle specs. And then we asked for some optional equipment as well that could be included. So you can see in the memo which ones had a plow, a lift gate, and some storage options. And if they didn't have those, could they be added to the vehicle? And if so, for what cost? And I noted that 2 of the vehicles also had some additional features, which we didn't request in the invitation for bids, but just wanted to note those. So one of the vehicles has an LED light bar. Another one of the trucks has a ladder rack on the top. So in terms of the 3 proposals themselves, they ranged in price for the base bid from $33,439 was the truck from Johnson Motors. The truck from Bernard's was $36,168.50. And the truck from Johnson Ford was $34,996. Now, both vehicles from Johnson Motors and Bernard's include a snowplow. The truck from Johnson Motors has a lift gate included in the base bid. The lift gate could be added to the truck from Bernard's for an additional cost. And then in terms of storage options, the truck from Johnson Motors has a service body, so there's already locking boxes on the vehicle. Those types of features, additional storage options could be added to the truck from Bernard's. However, it's not a service body type of vehicle. One of the main differences in the two trucks with the plows is the mileage. So the one vehicle from Johnson Motors has about 184,000 miles on it. The truck from Bernard's has about 38,000 miles on it. So a big difference there. They're both a 2015 model. So Johnson Motors, 184,208 miles. The truck from Bernard's has 38,474. The recommendation that I have for this evening would be to proceed with the truck from Bernard's with their base bid, but then to also have a not-to-exceed amount of $39,000. This would be additional dollars for the storage for tools on the back, as well as if there's any need for a light bar or any vinyl graphics. Most of our vehicles will have, the airport logo or city logo on the side of the vehicle. But to not include the additional $5,000 for the lift gate on the back of the vehicle. Now I know my recommendation is going to be different than what the airport staff have. So certainly I wanted to invite them this evening if they wanted to share their thoughts on the trucks. So, that's all I have for you, and happy to answer any questions that you have. Otherwise, if Mike would like to add anything.
Mike?
My preference is truck A, simply because it is comparable to what we've been using over the last 16 years. Our current vehicle that is now retired has roughly 35 cubic feet of storage. And my concern with truck B is it's not set up like a service vehicle. It has, even with the toolbox is added, it'll have roughly 10 to 12 cubic feet. So a dramatic difference. Truck A has 39 cubic feet, and it's more suited for a maintenance vehicle rather than, I think truck B is more of a plow vehicle. So I'm looking for a service vehicle that we can carry tools, carry our spare parts to the different areas of the airport and work on site. Whereas truck B is more for, I think, a contractor where you would carry tools to a job site, work, and then at the end of the day, put your tools back in and leave. It's just a different type of vehicle. I mean, it's a quality vehicle. If I had a snowplow business, I would probably go after that truck. But to me, the snowplow is more of an afterthought. It's the service vehicle that I'm really interested in.
And it's the least expensive.
It is.
So I guess my question would be with the deck storage box as opposed to the storages on truck A already.
I was familiar with the deck storage system. I looked at it in the past. One of the airport commission members actually has it in his personal vehicle. And I did a lot of research over the weekend, and I've looked at just about every YouTube video out there on this system. And I think it's just too small for what we need. That storage system is equivalent to slightly bigger than one compartment on the utility vehicle on truck.
Ron, I would agree with you if they were going to put on a lot of miles. This is an on-site vehicle that's, no, I'm just saying if they were going to propose to put on a lot of miles on this vehicle, but 3,000 or 4,000 miles a year, trucks are going for a lot more miles today than they were 20 years ago.
Big
contradiction.
146,000 miles difference. And I guess that's a concern of mine too, because even though it may not, you're not gonna add a lot of extra miles, it already has miles on, and what are the future maintenance costs gonna be on a vehicle? 30-some thousand on, so, And that the storage on the vehicle may not be so far, as much, but you do have storage where you currently are, and so I don't know if you need to have every piece of tool that you would use on site at the airport anyway would. Am I making myself clear on that? That I mean, you're going to have some tools stored in a shed somewhere or a hangar, and to pick those tools up and bring them with you to an airplane or whatever the case might be, whatever needs to be fixed, it isn't that far away to go. It isn't like you're crossing over into Minnesota. I guess I'm gonna make a motion to approve.
Could I ask a couple questions? Is there, now I see something about a 2-year warranty, that's just on the Western plow. Did either one of these, truck A or truck B, have any kind of a warranty on them at all?
So given the age of the vehicles, like your typical manufacturer warranty would be expired.
Yeah.
The truck from Johnson Motors, I think it was a 90-day, 50/50.
Okay.
But otherwise, like typically, like if we buy a new vehicle, obviously you're gonna get
Yeah.
100,000
Right,
mile
right, and I didn't
warranty
know
or
if we had
something
any
like
kind of
that.
extended warranty. What about the one for Bernards? Is there any kind of does that have the same 3-month or whatever you
No,
said?
there would not be.
There's no warranty on that one at all?
No.
I talked to Mike briefly this afternoon, and he had another solution that, so the mileage didn't come into play at all. I don't know if you want to explain what you were talking about?
I certainly acknowledge there's risk to the city with this vehicle. It just, the mileage. I've used it at the airport for about 100 miles. And I am comfortable enough with this vehicle where I propose that the city/airport purchase the plow separately. And then as far as the vehicle goes, which is right around $22,000, I propose that I personally purchase that truck and then rent it back to the around $15 per day, maybe less, and it would be roughly $5,475 per year over a 5-year term. And during that time, I will cover any maintenance expenses. So the airport has to put fuel in it and make sure it's insured, and I will purchase the truck, pay the taxes on it, get it registered. I'll be the primary operator of that vehicle. Robert is a part-time maintenance person at the airport. He'll probably be the second, but it's basically us two operating that vehicle, and we will care for it. We will make it last 5 years, at least.
You said you've been using the truck at the airport for a while?
Yep, it was dropped off after the airport commission approved this truck back in, I think it was October.
Johnson Motors still owns the truck. You don't own the truck now.
That's correct.
I just think it's a big contradiction with that mileage, and I can't get that out of my head.
Mike's proposing that if their transmission, the engine goes out, he has to pay for it.
Yes.
I think that's an awfully bad policy.
Oh, it'd be
Can you
leased-
comment?
Yeah,
I know where you're gonna come.
I was just
Do we
gonna-
have any other,
Yeah, so we don't have any public employees here in the city of Richmond who own a vehicle that the city then leases from them. So like public works staff don't own a truck or a skid steer and the city rents it from them or has an agreement like that. So if the council wanted to look into that, that's certainly not something that I would recommend you do this evening. Obviously without even having legal counsel look at some type of a contract, but I don't know of, again, like police, electric, we don't have other departments where if they disagree with the vehicle that the council approves, that they then go and buy their own and we rent it from them or have arrangements like that.
Well, we recommend doing that, period.
Done that with the parks. I mean, we lease lawnmowers and skid steers and gators, that type of thing on lease programs. The
Not
only-
from a public employee.
But the only, well, he's taking the burden off the city completely. It's actually a cheaper deal for the city. But I look at this, And if you're gonna buy a vehicle, and this is the kind you need for your business, somebody says, well, take this one instead, this is one you need. Me, that's not the right way of going. Saying, well, yeah, well, this is a nice one, it's got less miles than that, but it doesn't meet your needs. I don't care what department it is, you say, well, that's not the vehicle we need, this type of vehicle. And I looked at the truck, and it's completely different than a pickup truck, put it that way. Utility box on the side, it's got the big bed in the back, it's got the lift gate on it. I think Craig looked at it already, and I think Greg looked at it. I'm not sure if Tom or Ron has looked at it. I mean, that's the way I see it. I mean, it's up to the council what they want to do, but
I'm with Mike on this one, I guess. If he's comfortable with the higher mileage one, and he thinks it's in good shape and it's been looked at, like I said, if it was gonna be a road vehicle where we're putting 50,000 miles a year on it, that would be one thing. But it's gonna be a plow vehicle and a service vehicle that they need and they prefer. So I'm just gonna trust the employee, just like I would trust the street department, because that's the grader that they think they need. I'm not gonna analyze which grader.
When an employee doing that, leasing the vehicle.
I wasn't talking about that. I was talking about this vehicle. Yeah.
Now,
That's what we're gonna have.
I think, Mike, did you say something about you don't need the plow, or you would get this vehicle without it? Can you explain what you were talking about there?
Yeah, the vehicle originally, the price was $22,000. And we had $35,000 budgeted. And we researched how much it would cost to put a plow on this and if the vehicle was capable. So we could benefit from a small plow. And talked to the dealer, and he agreed to put a Boss plow on for $10,800. It is certainly a nice-to-have thing. It is not a need-to-have. It's something that's used to primarily plow parking lots, not necessarily runways, taxiways.
So what would happen with the plow? There's one on there. Would Johnson's, would you,
It's all one package. That plow is part of that vehicle now.
so you said you'd pay for 21, you want the city though to pay for the plow then? Is that what you're saying, or? I'm just not, want to be sure.
If we did the lease,
Okay,
I would recommend that the airport pay for the plow, because that plow is probably a 15, 20-year plow, and it can be moved from vehicle to vehicle. So it's not necessarily permanently attached to this truck.
I feel that we have a responsibility to our taxpayers to purchase what is needed, not what is wanted. And I'm sure some of the things that are on this truck are needed, they may be wanted. So I'm going to make a motion, Mr. Mayor, to accept a bid of truck B with the option of the plow if it's necessary.
Second that motion.
further discussion? Roll, please.
Alderman Gartner,
yes.
Alderman Volkert,
Yes.
Alderman Montello is not in the room. Alderman Kittle,
No?
Alderman Vries,
Yes?
Alderman Weinmeier.
Yes.
Motion passes. Next item, SOAR lease agreement.
So included in your packet is a current draft of a lease agreement relating to the school farm, which has been in operation now for probably 7 or 8 years. The lease has expired between the city and the school district. So included in your packet is the first draft of this agreement. Now, we would still have final legal review by the city attorney, and then this would also have to go back to the school district, and I'm sure that they would have their legal counsel review it as well. So there still may be some changes made to the document, but we wanted to bring this forward to the council. Probably one of the most notable components for the agreement is that it would be for 15 years. Now, either party could opt out with providing notice, but this also provides the school district with an opportunity to plan if they were going to make improvements, for the facilities out there, that they know this isn't just a one-year lease that could get taken away from them at any time. So that gives a little more peace of mind to the district. Now, the airport manager provided some comments last week that our legal counsel is reviewing. So there still may be, again, some final revisions made. Obviously, we want to make sure we're in compliance, not just with our local requirements, but any implications with the state or with the FAA. So if the council was comfortable, you could make a motion to approve subject to final legal review. And then again, it would have to go back to the school board. Their legal review would certainly look at it as well. If the council didn't want to take action tonight, or if you wanted to see changes made and brought back to you, we could certainly do that as well. If you feel comfortable with legal counsel reviewing it and making any final edits or wordsmithing, we can certainly go down that route. So.
I think the question I have for you, it's interesting, reading this, just what you said, either side can get out at any time.
Yeah, 12 months notice, yeah.
What does 15 years mean? You made a point, and I get it.
Yep.
They want to know if they make an investment there, but in fact, some future council could say, hey, we have a reason. It doesn't really limit the city's ability to say why they want out. We understand why, that the school funding issues, maybe they have to stop. But I'm just wondering, as a protection for the district, we say it's a 15-year lease, but we say it can be terminated with 12 months' notice. I'm just wondering if that gives the school the protection that they really should want.
Well, and certainly this will have to go back to the school district yet. So this hasn't yet been reviewed by the board or by their legal counsel. So we may certainly receive that feedback if there's an edit that they'd like to see made.
Well, and I feel this way. I think that I certainly, as one person up here, support us having the lease with the SOAR program and the school district. It just seems to me that if I was the school, and I realize what side of the table am I on right now, but maybe we put that to Greg Gartner. But I just think to have the right kind of agreement, I would be curious to get the school's input. Is there a minimum time they're looking for? Sure. That's beyond really 12 months, because that's, as far as I'm concerned, that's what this says. And so I would just want something that I think is, the city has obviously shown its support for the program out there. It's not like, oh, no, we don't know, whatever. But I that just seems, because non-payment of rent, is it $500 a year?
That's currently what's proposed.
Yeah, the non-payment of rent, I don't know how that happens, but anyhow, you understand what I'm saying. So that's how I feel. I just think it's, if somebody wants to make a motion to approve this, but I would just love to see some language that's better for some duration of time beyond just 12 months notice.
Go ahead, Mike.
If I could just make a comment, this is still airport land, and it falls under our grant assurances. And our grant assurances, I can tell you, we're pushing our luck as it is with a 12-month back out.
Well, so then, Mike, you'd say that 15 years is like, I don't even know why we say 15 years, because it really isn't.
It's very much like a hangar lease. We can lease a hangar lot for 20 years, but if the airport should need that area for development, we have the ability to take it. I can tell you, we have no intention of using that property over on the west side of County Road CC for airport improvements, but regardless, the FAA will not allow us to encumber the land for that duration.
Mike, I think 15 years just shows that we are willing to be long-term into this project, but we're going to have the 12-month pullback if that's what's required by the FAA.
I'm not saying the 12 months should go away. I guess what I'm saying is somebody could hear about this and say, oh, the school's got a 15-year lease. No, they don't. If this lease is approved, they don't have a 15-year lease. They have a 12-month lease.
Nobody at the airport really has a long-term lease.
I understand that. But what I'm saying is again, this is kind of you started off, no, this is a 15-year lease. It really isn't. It's a 12-month lease. And I do think there's a commitment to the program to say what it is. I guess your comment, Mike, if the FAA has heartburn over something longer than 12 months, did I hear that right?
It's typically, I think a typical lease is 90 days.
Okay.
notice.
So they do have heartburn over this 12-month even, and I understand that, but is that what I'm understanding?
Yeah, again, it's for a very specific reason. If we need that area for development or for approach lights or something, which we do not.
I understand that,
we
but
have to have that available.
just going back to Noah's comment about the school wants to know if they invest money there, right? They want to know that they don't have long-term protection. I'm super supportive of the program. I think it's a great idea. And it isn't the end of the world if this gets approved. Like, I don't think that's the world's biggest problem, but I'm just saying, we say it's a 15-year lease, and I understand what you're saying, Pete, but really, it is a 12-month lease.
Can we say in this, this is going to be for 5 years, and after the 5 years, then after that, a 12-month notice?
I think it's, again, it's feedback we can certainly share with Nick and with their legal
Yeah.
counsel. I mean, I think we don't want to be trying to craft something here tonight with.
Are we ready to make a motion on this to begin with?
That's up to you.
I'm just saying, I think maybe a table is probably the prudent thing to do right now. There's a lot of questions on both sides, and
Is that a motion?
I'll make a motion to table.
I'll second it.
Further discussion. Can we bring this back in 2 weeks at the work session? Will that be enough time?
So if you want to.
Well, their legal's got to look at
Your
it too.
motion would be
That's what I'm saying.
to,
Is there enough time?
if your motion would be to postpone discussion to the work session, we
Yeah.
can have this back on
That
the
should be
agenda.
fine.
It would,
Is there-
it would not be going to the board yet until the council's comfortable with it, so.
We're not discussing
We
the
didn't- we
motion,
didn't
we're
table it yet.
discussing the,
We didn't vote on it yet. We're having discussion right now.
well, we can't have a discussion. Ron's right about that. Just call for the
Absolutely,
vote.
but
I'll call
after-
for the
after
question.
He's made a motion to table, and it's second. We can't have any more discussion on it. We got to vote.
I call for the question.
Yeah, go ahead and call for the vote.
We can't wait until after the vote. and have discussion.
And just as a point of clarity, once something's put on the table, it comes back to the next meeting as part of
Automatic.
the
Okay.
procedure automatically.
Automatically, okay.
So it'll
good.
be at the
Where we
work
could table it
session.
again if we don't have the answers that we need right now.
The council would have
Correct.
to make a motion to take it off the table
Perfect.
Yeah.
to then open up discussion.
That's what we should
So-
do.
Alderman Volkert. Yep.
Yes.
Alderman Montello.
Yes.
Alderman Kittle.
Yes.
Alderman Breeze.
Yes.
Alderman Weinmeier.
Yes.
Alderman Gartner.
Yes.
Motion passes. Grandbon Holdings Development, Town of Star Prairie.
So this is our last item under new business. I just have a couple slides up on the monitor to show you. This is a proposed rezoning application in the town of Star Prairie. Now you might think, well, why are we looking at what's going on in the town of Star Prairie? So at this time, the Township's Plan Commission has recommended approval. This then goes to the county for approval. They started the public hearing in November. They discussed it again at December. They now will not discuss it again until February and would like feedback from the city of New Richmond and some of the surrounding townships. Now the location, this would actually just be on the south side of the town hall, if you're familiar with the location. It's roughly 160 acres. It's currently zoned R1 residential. Their future land use map guides this for agricultural use. And the proposed rezoning is to zone it to R2, which would allow for higher density residential. They're looking at 55 single-family homes with private well and septic. Now, this area is not in our extraterritorial jurisdiction, so this would not come to the Plan Commission or the council typically. So on the screen, this is just showing the concept at this point. So again, this time they're just applying for the rezoning. Really, the reason why they're looking for feedback from the city and some of the other jurisdictions in the area is because of the landfill, actually. And so you can see the 160 acres is highlighted in the light yellow on the screen. That orange oval is the estimated plume from the landfill with contaminated groundwater. So if you recall, several years ago, the city and other responsible entities extended municipal water to serve some of the homes in this area. And we continue to pay money on an annual basis for the ongoing monitoring of the landfill. And so, again, they won't meet on this until February. Something I wanted to bring forward tonight, just because we had a shorter agenda. It's certainly something that we want to look into just to see if there's concerns from a liability standpoint. And if you were to have 55 additional wells in that area in the future, if they were to test high for volatile organic compound, who is responsible? And what potential risk is there to the city or to the county or to the other entities involved? So
And question, who would be responsible?
we're still looking into that. Yeah.
Okay, so we don't have that answer yet?
No.
Okay.
No. So, so not looking for any recommendation or any vote here tonight, but just wanted to kind of put this on your radar, so to speak. Something that you'll see coming back before the February Community Development Committee meeting. And again, something that the county just felt that before they would take action on this, they wanted to make sure that all the entities were aware. This was being discussed in December, and most of the governing bodies didn't know this was going on. And certainly don't want to approve something just based on the township's recommendation when all the other entities have been involved with the landfill. So,
No, you said this is outside of our extraterritorial jurisdiction?
yes, yes.
So what are we voting on? What would we be voting on?
So if we wanted to actually provide written comments for them to consider at their February meeting, we would certainly want the council to feel comfortable if we were sharing, if the council actually wanted to, again, if there was potential risk or liability to the city, if the council actually wanted to recommend that the county requires specific conditions in terms of the depth of the wells or not allowing the rezoning or whatever that might be, we could certainly provide that feedback, but ultimately the council doesn't have, it goes to the county, the city doesn't have a say in that.
At the end of the day, the question is, what kind of comments, if any, do we
Any.
want to express to the county relative to this project?
Right.
Okay,
Well, I would be anxious if we would be held liable for water in that area.
I would say we'd be irresponsible if we don't give them comments that, hey, folks,
Yeah,
buyer beware.
'cause we've already done it
Right.
in the past. where we've-
Absolutely.
So,
This was gonna be passed in December, and then we got them to move it back to February so we could have input and notify them so that we wouldn't be liable for this, because we're telling them ahead of time, they have to see what kind of wells they're gonna put there. Because some of the wells on the other side of the river have higher concentrations right now. And that's the problem right now. So we want them to know on the other side, if they're gonna do a development of 55 homes now and then another 100 possibly, that they have to have some kind of system out there for water. Not that they're not notified, because they weren't notified before this start Prairie. The town board didn't know anything about it. And then we notified them, just to do our due diligence, because otherwise, if they weren't notified, we could be liable for pollution out there and running water out there, which would be a couple of $1 million, if not more.
Yeah, I agree with
If not
both of you.
more.
I agree with both of you, and it just seems to me that the problem's already been identified, and I'm no geologist, but it seems reasonable that this stuff moves, that's in the ground, and you would just think that this many years after that's all been identified, and when you look at a map like that, that tells you part of the development is inside, I don't know if that's the hard identified plume or what they think it is.
Estimate.
Right, in other words, nobody's done tests out there to see, but it seems like you're doing that project at your own risk. But I think obviously we have an obligation to make sure that the city is protected from further liability there.
make it their own risk.
Absolutely, to whatever extent we can. So we need some heavy legal input here as to what what's the most protective thing that we can say.
County
So-
board didn't even know there was pollution out there.
Can you verify, right in the middle of the plume there, is that 110th Street? I can't read it from here. That's 110th, isn't it? Yeah, it is, because I used to live right up the road, just off of County Road C.
That's why you moved.
No, not because of that. We have water out front if we want it. I moved because I wanted a nice little house. But yeah, and that, just to the left of that, west of that, that's right in the plume, is that one of their test wells right there? Is that what those black dots are? Right in, that right, is that a test? Yeah. And we don't know those, if they're picking, I mean, I know along 110th, obviously, they're picking it up there. No question. I was at the town board many times when we were going through all this stuff, so.
Yeah, so we still have annual testing at the monitoring wells, so we get an annual report that we send out to the other jurisdictions.
Yep.
And the challenge in this area is that the flow is to the northwest. And so, while there may be improvement over time in this area, down.
Correct.
And so, not a
Hydrologist,
by
yeah.
any means in this either, but west, and so it's actually probably going to take the longest well to actually have improved results in comparison to the ones actually closer, which might sound kind of counterintuitive, but everything is flowing that direction. So certainly something we'll look into, something you either see at the January work session or the regular February meeting.
So has Nick looked at this and given some
so-
language on what we can and cannot do or say?
Yep, so he would be looking at this. We're
Okay.
also getting input from the DNR as well as input from the company that we've hired that does our annual testing to get their feedback. Obviously, the county's council is reviewing this. The developer wasn't aware of this until December at the county meeting, so that was a surprise to them as well.
But the county didn't know about that plume?
No,
Didn't know there's pollution out there at all.
There must have been 50 town meetings out there that went, for
yeah,
years it went
just
on.
changes on staff that were reviewing the project, and
Oh.
yeah, so.
Alfred Hitchcock even made a movie about this. North by Northwest. Sorry, maybe you've seen it. Ba-dum.
So no action needed on this tonight, just
Back.
kind of wanted to introduce this to you, something you'll see again before their February meeting dates, so.
Anything else? Otherwise, any communication or miscellaneous?
I have something.
Okay, Ron?
Dropbox, a drive-by Dropbox out in their parking lot to pay your utilities. Believe it or not, I've had calls at home. Why has that been removed? One of the calls was from a 90-plus-year-old neighbor of mine. She likes to drive by and put her payment in there, and now she's got to walk inside. I took it upon myself. I called 12 different cities here in Wisconsin, all WPPI, just like we are, for to be a little bit alike. I called Waupun and Sun Prairie, Oconomowoc, River Falls, Menasha, Lake Mills, Jefferson, Hartford, Black River Falls, Reedsburg, Cedarburg, and Columbus. 10 out of those 12 cities have drive-by boxes where they can put their. The other 2 at least have boxes outside. I was told that insurance didn't cover that. I asked each and every one of these cities when I called. An issue with you with insurance, that they don't cover an outside box, and nobody about insurance. If we're worried about security, I don't know if that box has been out there for as long as I can remember. Ever had a problem with somebody trying to break into that box? Of these 10 cities here that have the drive-by box said the same thing. We've never had a problem with anybody trying to break into our box. It's a convenient thing for our citizens here in Richmond. We were providing them a service. Now, we have to provide that service to citizens. It was taken away. And I was told too, because it's a security reason. Oftentimes, when I pay my utility bill, not every month, but I mean, utility bill every month, but oftentimes I'll enter the front entrance on the west side, and I'll come up to the utility office. And on the public side of that window, cardboard box in the shelf on the public side. You can lay your envelope in that box. And oftentimes, when I lay my envelope in that box, amongst other envelopes in there, I see nobody at the front window, nobody in the office, but yet we're still depositing our envelopes. That's not a security issue. I don't see any reason why we can't.
If the council would like to have this on a future meeting agenda, we certainly can.
I would
It's,
like to put it
we
on
really
the
can't have
agenda.
discussion on it
I know
tonight,
it.
but.
I would like to put it on the agenda at the work session.
Sure.
Just also to let you know, Ron's not alone in getting phone calls. I've got one phone call, and I've had two people stop me and ask me about it. And none of the three were even my constituents.
Yep, we can certainly have discussion at the next meeting, so.
We have an insurance with me. That would cover if somebody tried to break into that box.
Not sure where the insurance discussion came from. What the issue is if there's a breach of security and data, that you don't know whose data was breached or is unsecure. So monitoring services would have to be provided on every customer of the utility.
I can
and our
understand,
city.
and I'm not going to continue to talk,
Yeah.
because I know it can't be discussed tonight, but I go back to that cardboard box out there. So anyhow, let's discuss that at the work session.
Anything else?
Second.
Oh, I'm sorry, I just have really quick. People need to know
Oh.
that we don't have a spring primary in the city of New Richmond. So don't show up to vote February 20th here in the city. Some of the surrounding areas do.
I'll take that off
And
my calendar.
mark your calendar, tomorrow is Law Enforcement Appreciation Day. So
Woo-hoo.
start early if you'd like tonight.
And before you make that motion to adjourn, on the law enforcement side of things, the Take Action Honor Katie Burger Week is at Champs through Thursday, 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. The police department, yep,
Just Thursday
through Thursday.
through Thursday.
Yep, it's every
So
day through
tonight?
Thursday, 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. We partook today at the police department, ordered 8 of them, and they were delicious. So.
Okay, I had Mike with a motion.
To adjourn.
Wait a second.
Craig has a second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, we're adjourned.
I roll.